Making up the heart of the European continent, the region of Central Europe has a vast and varied cultural and physical landscape. From Poland in the north to the Adriatic Sea in the south, nearly all of the areas we will be looking at today were closed off from the Western mind as part of Eastern Europe during the Cold War. But since the fall of the Soviet Union, this region has seen a resurgence in popular tourism. Come along for the ride as we explore Central Europe. The first stop in anyone's trip through Central Europe should be Krakow, Poland, and the first step is flying in.
Baggage. The best thing about baggage is when you claim it.
Or when you don't check it at all.
There you go.
Then, after a short train ride, and a short walk through town.
Now I just want to point out the video sex shop and peep show.
You'll come across the Blue Hostel, complete with 24 rooms, 2 living rooms, included breakfast, and Wi-Fi access. The Blue Hostel is among the finest in Krakow's Old Town. And speaking of the Old Town,
Okay. And let's go over here.
just a short walk from the Blue Hostel, you will find a number of fantastic stops, whether you want to admire the history.
And this was a place where merchants originally did come to trade cloth, but there was actually a market there.
Or if you're just a bit thirsty.
Yes. Okay.
Now, let us go to see the medieval walls, because this is the only fragment of medieval walls that we can see in Krakow, okay?
Moving along the outside of the Old Town, visitors will find the remains of the old fortifications, which have become something of a tourist attraction.
Barbican behind us. The Barbican is an Arab word to describe a round defensive structure which was built at the turn of the
In the main square of Krakow, if you get your timing just right, you may get to hear the Haynau. Played every hour from St. Mary's Church, this trumpet call is part of a tradition honoring a trumpeter who was killed by a Mongol arrow. However, the Haynau isn't the only feature of St. Mary's.
Trumpeter Haynau, perfect, yes, perfect answer. The Haynau, which is the bugle call in English. But another thing, inside. Did you hear what is inside of this church?
Big altar.
Yes, big altar, perfect answer. Big altar built for years before the discovery of America. Playwright, novelist.
St. Mary's is far from the only church in Krakow, of course. The city is rich with beautiful churches and cathedrals. At the top of a hill overlooking the old town sits Wawel Castle. This castle is one of the most popular tourist spots in Krakow, and, combined with the adjoining cathedral, serves as one of the most beautiful places in the city. A short drive away, visitors can find the Wieliczka salt mine. In use until 2007, the mine is now a tourist attraction, helping the public to remember the importance of salt to history. Any trip to southern Poland is incomplete without taking time to visit the former Nazi camp at Auschwitz. Though a place for tourists, the camp is not intended to be a pleasant experience. The focus here is on dark tourism, showcasing man's inhumanity to man. No detail is hidden from the public, whether it be the prison conditions or the mountains of personal possessions that once belonged to the dead. Following several days in Poland, a traveler's next destination should be the small city of Olomouc. In the past, Olomouc was the capital of Moravia, now a region of the Czech Republic. It was built as a fortress city and, just as with Krakow, has much to offer tourists. One of the most well-known features of Olomouc is the astronomical clock located just off of the main square. Damaged by the Nazis in World War II, the clock was rebuilt by the Soviets with designs that idolized socialism. Not far from Olomouc, one will find Kromerijs, along with the massive Archbishop's Palace and gardens. For a small fee, you can climb to the top of the palace and enjoy the view. With a train ride, tourists can quickly find themselves in Prague, the current capital of the Czech Republic. One of the first stops upon arrival should be the Strahov Monastery. Among the other beauties of the monastery, you can find a statue of the Czech lion bearing the coat of arms of the nation. After visiting the monastery, the royal palace is the next stop. In addition to the ceremonial guards, the entrance is covered by these fearsome statues of Hercules, a common theme amongst palaces in Europe. Once inside, visitors will be treated to the massive St. Vitus Cathedral, a massive structure that towers over most of the city. The interior is beautifully lit through a series of stained glass windows, showcasing some of the finest art of the period, as well as some of the most beautiful religious imagery. Sitting near the massive Cathedral of St. Vitus is St. George's Basilica. Incredibly modest by comparison, but no less beautiful, the basilica is far older, being home to a fantastic example of Romanesque architecture. At the center of Prague is the Old Town Square, where tourists flock to see the hourly ringing of the astronomical clock. The square is packed with both visitors and entertainers trying to cash in on the tourism. And, of course, there are plenty of restaurants nearby. But for those who want a view while they chew, near the palace are several restaurants which overlook the entirety of the city. After a few days in Prague, it's best to hop on a train for a ride to Vienna. Just make sure you have your ticket. Upon arrival in Vienna, tourists often go to the Belvedere Palace to enjoy the many gardens, as well as the view. Another prominent feature is the water fountain sitting opposite the monument to the Red Army, which withdrew from the city following the Second World War. Yet another historically important church is Stephansdom, or the Cathedral of St. Stephen. Despite undergoing repairs, the cathedral remains one of the most beautiful and most visited in Central Europe. Although it lacks the majesty of St. Stephen's, St. Rupert's Church contains just as much history. The oldest church in the city, it is dedicated to St. Rupert of Salzburg, the patron saint of salt merchants. Once the winter home of the Habsburgs, today the Hofburg Palace serves as the residence for the President of Austria. Perhaps even greater and more popular than the Hofburg Palace is the famous Schönbrunn Palace. Containing thousands of rooms and many beautiful gardens, the palace is a must-see for every tourist in Vienna. After climbing to the top of the Gloriette, you are treated to a fantastic view of the entire city. Vienna is a massive city, but is by no means the only one worth visiting in Austria. By driving a few hours, you can find yourself in Salzburg. Made popular by the film The Sound of Music, the city was the home of Mozart and a center for the old salt trade. In fact, the name Salzburg means Fortress of Salt, and indeed it was a fortress. After leaving Salzburg, the only way to get to the country of Slovenia is by going through the Alps. The mountains result in extreme variation between the rain and sunshine, sometimes with surprising but pleasant results.
This must be an omen.
At the heart of Slovenia is the capital city of Ljubljana. Well known for its bridges and nearby market, the city is one of the smallest capitals in Europe. One of the most popular and adorable attractions in the city is Butcher's Bridge, on which couples place a lock to symbolize their love. Also of interest is the Ljubljana City Museum, which currently features an exhibit with the oldest wheel ever found. In addition to the alpine climate, Slovenia also contains 50 kilometers of coastline. In order to get there, you have to travel through the mountains. Even in the summer, however, the weather can be surprising and snow can fall. Before leaving the mountains for the beach, though, stop off in the town of Kobarid. This town was the center of a major battle during the First World War and was featured in Ernest Hemingway's Farewell to Arms. In the middle of town is a museum dedicated to the battle, with rooms detailing the history of the region. After Kobarid, be sure to finish off the day by visiting the Postonia Cave. This cave is Slovenia's second largest and the top cave for tourism. For a quick trip through, visitors can ride the train. The Adriatic Sea is the first thing to catch your eye as you step out of your hotel in the tourist city of Portorož. The city was built for tourism, and the waterfront is beautifully maintained, with the hotels, and there are a lot of them, dotting the coastline. Using Portorož as a starting point, most of the Istrian Peninsula can be easily visited over the course of a day. And the first stop? Piran, just north of Portorož. It has the same fantastic waterfront, but is less focused on tourism. Take the time to climb up the nearby hill and look out at everything, or head down to the main square for a chance to meet the mayor. The next place to go from Portorož is south into Croatia. This border with Croatia hardly exists anymore, and will be completely gone by 2015. Until then, if you play your cards right, you just might get your passport stamped. Not far from the border lies the small town of Motovun. Built as a sort of fortress with a large tower in the center, the town today is known for its truffles and wine, as well as the legend of Big Joe, a giant who, in a fit of rage, made the central tower crooked. Driving back to the coast will take you to Poreč, the most visited tourist destination in Croatia. Originally a Roman settlement, today the city is well known for the Eufrosyne Basilica, home to some of the world's oldest and best preserved mosaics. It is built in the Byzantine style and serves as a cultural treasure of Croatia. On the southern tip of Istria sits the city of Pula. In addition to the usual tourist shops, the city boasts a large collection of preserved Roman buildings, with arches sprinkled throughout the streets. Even more impressive is the amphitheater, one of the 6 largest in the world. Referred to today as the Arena, it is used by the locals to hold film festivals during the summer. No trip through Central Europe is ever complete without visiting the ever-popular city of Venice. The Piazza San Marco, or St. Mark's Square, is the most heavily visited part of the city, and for good reason. It boasts a fantastic and beautiful church, as well as the Doge's Palace and the famous clock tower. In addition, the piazza contains the original campanile. As mentioned though, it is very busy, so a tourist would be well rewarded to explore off the beaten path. From Venice, it is a short drive to Marco Polo Airport, and then a relatively short flight home. Over the course of about 3 weeks, a tourist can easily explore all of the places you've seen here, and so much more. We hope that this video will serve you well when you decide to see it for yourself and explore Central Europe.